I had just moved into my first off-campus apartment. It wasn't much, two small bedrooms, a leaky bathroom sink, and stained carpets that had probably survived 3 generations of students before me. My roommate bailaid last minute, so I was covering the rent solo until someone else replied to the listing. That meant no money for furniture. So I did what most broke college kids do. I scrolled through Craigslist. Most of it was junk, torn mattresses, cat-scratched chairs, or cracked TV stand. But then I saw a post that caught my attention. Free couch must pick up alone, serious inquiries only. Vintage leather couch in good condition. No rips, no bugs, just need it gone. Located outside city limits, near Riverbend Forest. Will leave couch outside garage. Do not knock, do not come after dark. Creepy instructions, sure, but a free leather couch, that's a win. I messaged the number, no name, just a single reply. Come before 6, do not be late. It was already 4:30 p.m. The GPS said it was about a 40-minute drive, tight but doable. The directions took me past the city limits and onto a rural road with no lights. No signs, just trees and the occasional mailbox with chipped paint. The sky was already turning gray. There were barely any cars on the road, and my signal dropped to 1 bar. Finally, I reached a gravel driveway with a rusty metal gate. No house number, no mailbox, but the pin on the map stopped here. I pulled in slowly, tires crunching on the gravel. The house came into view, rundown, with dark windows and an overgrown yard. It looked abandoned, but just like the post said. A brown leather couch sat near a detached garage, covered in a tarp. No one in sight, no lights, no dogs barking, nothing. I got out of the car, the air was weirdly still, no wind. Just quiet. I walked toward the couch. It actually looked pretty nice. A little worn, but no tears or bugs like the ad promised. Then I heard it, a metallic clicking sound, coming from behind the garage. It wasn't loud, almost like someone slowly turning a doorknob back and forth. I froze. I remembered the ad. Do not knock, do not come after dark. I glanced at my phone, 5:56 p.m. Crap. I reached for the couch and started dragging it fast toward my trunk. It was heavier than I thought. Every second the light around me dimmed, like the trees themselves were closing in. Then the clicking stopped and was replaced by footsteps. Heavy, slow, deliberate, coming around the far side of the garage. I panicked. I left the couch halfway to my car, dove into the driver's seat, slammed the door, and hit reverse so hard I nearly ran over my own bumper. The headlights caught a glimpse of the back corner of the garage, and someone stepped out. They were wearing a burlap sack over their head. No shirt, just pale skin, scarred arms, and a huge, jagged knife hanging loosely in one hand. I didn't even wait to see more. I floored it out of there, tires spinning on gravel. I didn't stop until I reached the main road. When I got home, I reported the listing, but it was already gone, just vanished. The number disconnected. I tried sleeping that night, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw the figure with the sack head, the knife, the slow steps. But that's not the scariest part. The next day, someone slipped a torn piece of leather under my apartment door. It looked like it had been ripped from a couch cushion. On the back was a handwritten note. You were late. I stared at the torn piece of leather on my floor like it might move. It was unmistakably from that couch. Same texture, same color. The note on the back, you were late, was written in thick black marker. Letters shaky but angry. Someone had followed me home. I didn't know what was worse, the fact that they knew where I lived, or the fact that I never saw or heard anyone enter the building. My apartment had one entrance. No back door. I lived on the 2nd floor, and my window faced a brick wall. That piece of leather didn't get under my door by accident. I called the police. They showed up, took a report, looked at the leather and said they'd keep an eye on the area. But with no real threat, no break-in, and a deleted Craigslist listing, they didn't have much to go on. The officer who took the report gave me a weird look as he left, like he thought I was making it up. Maybe I would have thought the same thing if it hadn't happened to me. That night I double-locked my door, wedged a chair under the handle, slept with a baseball bat next to my bed. Still didn't sleep. Every noise in the hallway made me flinch. I checked the peephole every 10 minutes, nothing. Then around 3:17 a.m., I heard a soft scraping noise, like something dragging across the hallway carpet. I held my breath and looked through the peephole. No one was there, but when I opened the door, just a crack. Holding my bat tightly, there was another piece of couch leather lying on my doormat. No note this time, just that smell. A strong, sour odor, like something that had been left to rot in a basement. That's when I realized the couch wasn't just a couch. It was bait. I didn't go to class the next day. I barely left my bed. I pulled the blinds shut, unplugged my laptop, and ignored every knock at the door, even the UPS guy. Around 7 p.m., I got a text from a random number. "Did you enjoy the test run?" No name, no follow-up, just that. I didn't respond. Then 10 minutes later, "You shouldn't waste good furniture, it'll be back soon." I dropped my phone, literally dropped it on the floor. That night, I moved my dresser in front of the door. Slept on the floor with the lights on. But sleep didn't come, just the sound of the hallway light buzzing through the door crack. And that feeling like someone was standing just outside, waiting for me to blink. 3 nights passed. No new notes, no sounds. I almost convinced myself it was over. Then the 4th morning, I opened my front door. And the entire couch was sitting in the hallway. Not just a piece, the whole thing. Same torn corner, same stain on the armrest. It was blocking my door, like someone had dragged it there in the middle of the night without waking a single neighbor. My chest went cold. There were scratch marks on the floor trailing back to the stairs. Long, dark gouges, like it had been hauled up from the lobby. Who the hell did this? How did no one hear? I backed into my apartment and slammed the door. That evening, I heard movements out there. Footsteps thumped, something heavy sliding. When I peeked through the peephole, the couch was gone. In its place, a Polaroid photo taped to my door. The photo was blurry, but I could see my car, parked in front of the Craigslist house. Me halfway to the couch, and just behind me, partially hidden by the garage, was that same figure. The burlap sack, the knife. He'd been closer than I thought. I finally called my cousin Caleb. He lived in a neighboring town and worked security. Told him everything. He didn't say much on the phone, but he showed up 30 minutes later with his Glock and a flashlight. "Let's go back," he said. "If someone's messing with you, I want to meet them." I didn't want to. Every part of me screamed to stay away from that house. But I also knew I wouldn't sleep until I knew who or what was behind this. We arrived just after sunset. Caleb insisted on ignoring the driveway and parking 2 blocks down. We approached on foot, flashlights off. The garage was still there. The house still looked abandoned. But something was different this time. The front door was wide open, and inside, the couch was sitting in the middle of the living room. Not outside, not in the garage. Inside, like it had been waiting for us. I told Caleb this was a bad idea, but he stepped in first, gun drawn. The air inside was thick, like mildew and burnt plastic. My flashlight flickered. That's when we saw them. Photos, hundreds of them, scattered across the walls, taped to cabinets, dangling from the ceiling with fishing wire. Photos of people at couches, different couches. Different people, all looking at Craigslist furniture. Some loading it into trucks, some asleep on it. And in every single one, that figure in the background. Sometimes up close, sometimes far away, but always watching. Caleb muttered, "This isn't a prank, this is something else." Then he stopped walking and pointed. On the far wall was a photo of me, taken the night I went to get the couch. Except this one was from a different angle. It was from inside the garage. I was halfway to my car, and behind me, barely visible in the dark, was the open garage door with someone stepping out. Caleb whispered, "We're not alone." That's when the garage door slammed shut. We bolted toward the front door, but it shut too, locked. Footsteps upstairs, then in the kitchen. The sound of someone dragging something heavy. Caleb pointed to the back of the house. We rushed out a side door and sprinted through the trees, back to his car. We never looked back. I never went home after that. I packed a bag at Caleb's, stayed at a friend's, and eventually moved out of town. Craigslist, I'll never touch it again. But every now and then, someone sends me a photo. From a blocked number. It's always of a couch. Always outside someone's house. And in the background, that figure, still watching. Last summer, I was desperate for money. I didn't want to go back to my boring part-time job at the campus cafe. And my internship fell through last minute. So I searched Craigslist for anything that didn't sound like a scam or human trafficking. That's when I saw this ad under the household help section. Evening babysitter needed, $200 cash per night, no experience required. Single father needs someone to watch his 6-year-old son. Michael from 6 p.m. to midnight. House is in a safe neighborhood. No cooking or cleaning, just keep the child company. He usually falls asleep by 9 p.m. Must have own transportation. No red flags, surprisingly. There was even a picture of the kid and a dog, some grainy iPhone photo with a smiling boy and a golden retriever. I figured if someone was trying to lure people, they wouldn't use a photo that normal. The number was a local area code. I texted it and the reply came back instantly. Can you start tonight? I hesitated, it was already 4 p.m. And I wasn't even in town, I'd need to drive about 30 minutes. But $200, that's a lot of gas and groceries. I said yes. The house was tucked into one of those sleepy suburban neighborhoods, wide roads. Tall trees, no sidewalks, all the houses looked the same. Big porches, American flags, porch swings no one used. The place was neat, 2 stories. Fresh white paint, the porch light was already on even though the sun hadn't fully set yet. I walked up and knocked. The door opened slowly, but no one was there. Hello, I said. Then I heard a voice, a man's, from around the side of the house, back here. I followed the sound, a little hesitant, and found a tall, average-looking guy in his late 30s, standing beside a charcoal grill. Khakis, a navy t-shirt, and a faint southern accent. You must be Kelsey, he said. Thanks for coming on such short notice. He didn't offer a handshake, which felt weird. But I brushed it off. He pointed toward the sliding glass door. Michael's in the living room watching cartoons. He's a quiet kid, you won't have any trouble. I'll be back around midnight, maybe earlier. That was it, no list of rules. No emergency numbers, no mention of the dog from the picture. When I asked about it, he just said, "We had to put Max down last month, picture's old." He handed me $200 in cash, nodded, and walked off into the driveway, getting into a dusty black SUV. No license plate on the front. I remember that detail for some reason. Inside, the house was clean, too clean. Like it hadn't been lived in. The living room had plastic covers on the couch. No family photos, just one giant flat screen playing some knockoff animated show that looked like it belonged in the early 2000s. And sitting cross-legged on the floor was Michael. He turned to me and smiled. Hi. Hey buddy, I said, what are we watching? He shrugged. I sat down on the edge of the couch, still trying to shake the weird vibe. You hungry? I asked. He shook his head. Dad fed me. Okay, you wanna play a game? Again a shrug, then he said something that made my stomach drop. You're not the first one. I blinked. What do you mean? He pointed at the ceiling. The last girl went up there. I looked up, just a ceiling fan and white paint. Up where? I asked, half laughing. Michael got quiet. He turned back to the TV. She screamed. That was the moment I realized I should have left. But I didn't, because I told myself kids say weird things all the time. That maybe he was playing or traumatized or something. I walked around the house to distract myself. The kitchen was spotless, no dishes. No magnets or drawings on the fridge, no snacks on the counters. The hallway had closed doors. I opened one. Bathroom, white tiles, no toothbrushes. No towels, just a bar of soap and a mirror too clean to be real. The next door was locked. The third was a guest bedroom, empty except for a bed with no sheets. That's when I realized something. There were no toys in the entire house. No Legos, no markers, no books. Not even a blanket on the couch where a kid would nap. Just that same fake cartoon still looping on the TV. Around 8:30, Michael finally lay down and fell asleep right there on the carpet. I grabbed a throw blanket from the couch and tucked him in. For a moment, I convinced myself I was just being paranoid. Then I got a text. Not from the dad, but from a different number. The message just said, "Get out." I froze, and then before I could respond, the house phone rang. A landline. I didn't even notice it until that moment. It was in the kitchen, mounted on the wall like it was 1999. I picked it up slowly. Hello. Nothing. Just breathing. Then a whisper. He's not his dad. Click. My hand was still on the phone when I heard a creak upstairs. Not the kind a house makes when it settles. This was deliberate, a floorboard, a step. Someone was up there. I turned around slowly, trying not to make noise. Michael was still asleep in the living room, wrapped in the blanket, breathing softly. I grabbed my phone and crept toward the stairs. Another step above, this time closer to the top of the stairs. Heavy, slow, like whoever was up there wanted me to hear them. I should have grabbed the kid and run. But I didn't. I moved to the bottom of the stairs and called up, voice shaking. Hello. Silence. Then a quiet voice just loud enough to hear. You shouldn't be here. I backed away. Then I grabbed Michael, who stirred awake and looked at me with wide eyes. Is it time to go? Yeah, buddy, I said quickly. Change of plans. I carried him to the front door. Fumbled with the lock, deadbolt. Chain, another lock I hadn't noticed before. Who locks the inside like this? I finally yanked it open. But the porch was dark. Too dark. The porch light that had been on earlier was now off, and my car, it wasn't there. I had parked right across the street. I remembered because I locked it with the key fob and heard the beep. Now the street was empty. Just shadows. I was panicking. I told Michael to stay inside. Then stepped onto the porch and checked my phone. No signal, 0 bars. Then I heard it again from upstairs, the sound of something heavy being dragged across the floor. I ran back in, locked the door, and backed away. That's when I remembered the back sliding door where I first met the dad. I carried Michael toward the kitchen, but he grabbed my wrist. Don't go that way. Why not? I whispered. That's where he watches. I didn't ask what he meant. I ran. We reached the back door and I slid it open quietly. The backyard was overgrown. A rusted swing set leaned to one side. The grass looked untouched for years. As I stepped outside, I looked up at the second floor window. A man was standing there. Not the dad, not the guy I met. This one was older, pale, bald. Shirtless, eyes too wide, just standing there. Staring down at us through the window, not blinking. I ducked, pulling Michael with me. We crawled along the side of the house, past the trash bins into the neighbor's yard. But every house was dark, no porch lights. No movement. It was like this street had been cut off from the world. That's when I saw headlights in the distance. I waved both arms frantically. A car slowed, rolled up to us. It wasn't the SUV. It was a white Honda Civic. A girl in her late 20s was driving. She rolled down the window. You okay? I nodded too fast. Please, can you call 911? Someone's in that house and this kid, he's not safe. She stared at me, eyes narrowing. Then she looked at Michael. Is your name Michael? She asked. He nodded slowly. Her face went pale. Get in. We didn't speak again until we were 3 blocks away. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. I answered that same Craigslist ad last year. She said she never even made it inside. When she knocked, the door opened by itself. But no one answered. She saw movement inside, a shadow upstairs. She got creeped out and left. When she texted the number the next day, it was disconnected. She filed a police report, but nothing ever came of it. She started crying at one point. Said she always felt guilty, like maybe someone else wouldn't be as lucky. We drove straight to the police station. Michael stayed quiet the whole time, calm, too calm. When we arrived, the officer asked for the address of the house. We gave it. He typed it into the system and paused. Then he turned the monitor so we could see. It was a burned-down house. 4 years ago. A fire had gutted it completely. Electrical fault, they said, no survivors. The father, the son, and even the dog had all died. But I had just been inside it. I had seen the couch, the cartoons, the photos, the locked rooms. I swear to God, I said, we were just there. Someone was upstairs, he wasn't alone. The cop looked at us like we were crazy. But the woman backed me up. She had screenshots of the listing from the year before. Same address, same kid, same dog. The cop agreed to send a cruiser. An hour later, he called me. I don't know what to tell you. He said there's nothing there. Just a foundation and overgrown weeds. That house has been gone for years. A few days passed. I stayed at my aunt's place, trying to put it all behind me. Told myself I must have made some mistake. Maybe I was hallucinating, sleep-deprived, something. Then late one night, I got a text. From a number I didn't recognize. Thanks for watching, Michael. He misses you already. Attached was a photo. It was the couch again. But this time I was on it. Asleep. And standing behind me, partially hidden in the doorway, was that man from the window. Watching. I moved to Portland for work, tech startup. Long hours, low pay, but the kind of resume booster people kill for. Problem was, rent in the city was insane. Studios were going for $1,800 and up. And I was barely scraping by, so I turned to Craigslist. That's where I found Liam. His listing was short and weirdly formal. Room available in 2-bedroom house. Quiet neighborhood, no smoking. No pets, $650/month, must be clean, must respect privacy. I almost skipped it, but the pictures showed a clean house. Decent kitchen, hardwood floors, it looked safe. I messaged him, he replied the same day. You can move in this weekend. I work nights, rent due first of each month. Don't go into my room, no guests. I should have noticed the red flags. But I was desperate. The first time I met Liam, he barely made eye contact. Mid-30s, average build, buzzed hair. He wore a plain gray hoodie, even though it was 90 degrees out. Spoke softly like everything was rehearsed. He showed me my room, said bathrooms down the hall. Don't use my soap, then he disappeared into his room and shut the door. That was it, no welcome chat, no tour, no handshake. Still, the place was clean, no weird smells. No visible weapons, I figured I could deal with quiet. For the first week, everything was fine. He left for work every day around 6 p.m. Came back after midnight, I never saw him eat. Never heard music, just his door closing and opening. But around day 10, I started noticing sounds. Not loud, just strange. It would start around 2 a.m., a soft thumping. Like someone hitting a wall rhythmically. Then a dragging noise, then silence, always the same pattern. Thump, drag, silence. I figured maybe he was moving furniture or working out, I didn't ask. But one night I woke up at 2:18 a.m. to something different. Scraping like fingernails on drywall. Then a soft knock on my wall, right where my bed was pushed up against. I knocked back, no reply. I lined in, listening for a second. I swear I heard whispering, too faint to make out. The next morning I asked him casually, "Hey, were you doing something last night?" I heard some weird noise in the wall. He didn't even look up from his coffee. Old house settles a lot. Then he got up and walked away. But that afternoon when he left for work, I peeked into his room. I know I shouldn't have. But the door wasn't fully closed, and curiosity got the better of me. His room was bare. No TV, no dresser, just a twin mattress on the floor. A lamp and 3 padlocked trunks. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach twist. His bed was pushed away from the wall, a solid 2 feet of space between it and the far corner. And behind it there was a small door. Like 4 feet tall, painted the same color as the wall. Almost invisible unless you looked directly at it. No handle, just a thin metal latch. I backed out fast and shut his door. Later that night I couldn't sleep. My brain kept picturing that little door. Who builds a room with a tiny door like that? Was it part of the crawl space, an old laundry chute? At around 1:30 a.m. I heard it again. Thump, drag, silence. But this time it was louder. Closer, like it was coming from my closet. I sat up, heart racing. I turned on my lamp and walked over slowly. Opened the door. Nothing. Just shirts, hoodies, a few boxes. But on the floor, there were white scratch marks on the wood. Like something had been pushed or dragged recently. And the wall behind my hanging clothes. There was a faint line, a square outline. Another hidden door. I didn't sleep that night. I spent the next day at a coffee shop. Trying to forget it, told myself it was just an old house. That all homes creak, that weird doesn't mean dangerous. That night I stayed up, determined to catch whatever it was. 2:14 a.m. I heard it. This time I recorded it on my phone. Thump, drag, then a click. Like a latch opening. Then footsteps, inside the wall, coming toward my room. The footsteps stopped behind the wall, directly behind the hidden square in my closet. I didn't move, I barely breathed. The air felt heavy, like the drywall itself was pulsing. I slowly backed toward my bed, gripping my phone, still recording. Then 3 slow knocks came from inside the wall. Knock, 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 right where that hidden outline was. I whispered, "Who's there?" No reply, but something scraped against the inside again, slow, methodical. That's when I heard my front door open. I bolted out of my room. Liam was standing in the hallway, wearing the same gray hoodie, holding a brown paper bag. He looked at me like he already knew what I'd seen. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice too calm. I lied, "Yeah, thought I heard something." He stared at me for a long moment, then said, "Old house settles a lot." I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in the living room with the lights on, phone in hand, watching that recording on repeat. You can't see much, just darkness, but you can hear it. The scraping, the dragging, the knock. At one point I paused it, listened with headphones. Right before the knocks, you can hear a whisper. It's hard to make out, but it sounds like, "He knows." The next morning I called in sick and left the house before Liam woke up. I went to work early just to avoid him. I didn't come home until late, hoping he'd be gone. He wasn't. He was in the kitchen washing an apple like everything was normal. He didn't say a word. That night I made a decision. I was going to open that hidden door in my closet. I waited until Liam left for work, 6:02 p.m. on the dot, and I went back into my room. The outline was faint but visible. I grabbed a flathead screwdriver and gently wedged it into the edge. The drywall gave way surprisingly easy. Behind the thin panel was another wooden door. Smaller than I thought, barely chest height. Old, with peeling paint and a rusted latch. I opened it slowly. The smell hit me first, rot and dust, something long dead. Inside was a narrow tunnel, just wide enough to crawl through. It sloped slightly downward and curved to the left. I shined my flashlight inside and saw scratch marks on the walls, and fingernail gouges in the wood floor. Someone had been through here. Recently. I didn't go in. I couldn't. Instead, I took photos, closed the door, put the drywall panel back as best I could, packed my stuff in silence. I was planning to sleep in my car, then get a new place. I didn't care about the security deposit. I just wanted out. At exactly 12:17 a.m., I was in the living room, backpack ready when the lights flickered. Then I heard it again, scraping. But this time it wasn't from my closet. It was from Liam's room. And then I heard something I will never forget. A woman's voice, whispering, hoarse, desperate. "Help me." It was coming from inside the wall. Then 3 bangs against the thin wall between our rooms. I froze. Then the banging turned into screaming. Muffled, ragged screaming, like someone trapped behind drywall. Like their mouth was taped, like they'd been screaming for years. Then silence, and footsteps slow and dragging, heading toward the small hidden door in Liam's room. I ran. I didn't even grab all my stuff. I ran out of the house barefoot. Keys in hand, jumped in my car and peeled out of the driveway. I called the police while I drove. Told them someone might be trapped inside a wall, maybe worse. They took it seriously. A patrol car met me at a gas station. I showed them the photos, the recording, everything. 3 cars pulled up to the house with lights flashing. Here's what they found. Liam was gone. His room was stripped, mattress, trunks, everything gone. But the hidden door was real. They pried it open and followed the crawl space. It led to a second hidden room. A tiny soundproofed box with old restraints on the floor. Chains, rope, stains no one wanted to test. In the corner was a pile of shredded clothing. And scratched into the wall, names. Dozens of them. I didn't recognize any, except one. At the very bottom, barely visible. Kelsey, the same name from that other Craigslist horror story. Liam was never found. The listing was deleted, the number was disconnected. No employment records, no credit history, like he'd never existed. They traced his Craigslist post to a VPN and a burner email. Turns out he'd posted dozens of similar roommate ads in other cities. Same rules, same no guests. Always for a small rent in quiet neighborhoods. No one ever stayed long. Some people just vanished. I moved across the country. New name, new number, no Craigslist. But sometimes when I lie awake at night, I hear it again. Thump, drag, silence, and a whisper in the wall. He's still looking.